Hey guys, this is Luke on Sean's channel. I'm still with Sean though. Today we're going to be doing something a lot different. We are going to be complaining.
We never complain.
We never complain on this channel. So I have a little bit of a bone to pick with how Konami has been treating the Sky Striker monsters lately. For those of you who don't know, I play Sky Strikers a lot on this channel. I'm a big Sky Striker fanboy. Sean dabbles himself as well, mostly on Master Duel.
Yeah, I love Sky Strikers, guys. I'm the best Sky Striker player. You know, I don't fuck up combos. I'm a Giga Chad.
Yeah, Sean is the most base Sky Striker player of all time. But anyways, recently Sky Striker's been getting a lot of new support that's been announced, mostly thanks to the OCG manga that's been released in Japan. And you know, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh manga, more cards get released. It's just the way it is. It's a nice little sentiment to actually buying the manga and the volumes and stuff like that. Now, when we got Sky Striker support recently enough in a Battles of Legend, we got a card called Sky Striker Ace Azalea. So Azalea, pretty good. It's a decent bit of support. However, one problem I had was the fact that it was a bit too generic and it wasn't really generic enough that I can fit in the Sky Strikers. For those of you who don't know, in order to go into Azalea, you need 2 light and or dark monsters. With Sky Strikers though, most of the time, you're not starting onto the field with a light and a dark monster, okay? You're mostly just going with one or the other to go into your other Link 1 Sky Striker monsters. However, the problem with this is all of your Link 1s are different attributes. So Kagari's a fire, you got Hayate's a wind, you got Shizuku's a water. There's loads of different ones that is neither light or dark. So Azalea kind of fell into this funny category where although it was Sky Striker support, it wasn't specifically tailored for Sky Striker. Decks like Dragon Link or one of these other decks that take advantage of both light and dark monsters can use this card because it is a powerful card with a generic effect. So basically the effect reads that if this card is special summoned, you can target one card on the field and destroy it, and if you have 3 or less spells in the graveyard, send this card to the graveyard. But once per turn, at the start of damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish 1 spell from your graveyard and destroy that opponent's monster, which of course is very, very good for some nice, decent bit of removal.
I don't know much about Sky Strikers because I don't really play the deck that much, but I do see this card a lot in decks like Pearly, because Pearly run light and dark monsters with the Pearly and Pearlily, light and dark, so you just easily go into this. And also they set up their grave with a bunch of spells, so you don't have to worry about this going off the field, and it's just easy removal. So you don't really play as in Sky Strikers, you play it a lot more in other decks, like Pearly or whatever. Any light or dark deck can just run this card, which is cool in a way, but it does kind of, it really isn't much of a Sky Striker card, because you really can't play it in Sky Strikers.
The one way this card also kind of neuters Sky Strikers as well is the fact that the other effect means that you have to banish a spell from your graveyard. Banishing spells isn't really a big deal with a lot of decks. However, with Sky Strikers, you want your spells in the graveyard. In order to get the full effects of your Sky Striker spells, you need at least 3 spells, full stop, in your graveyard in order to get the full effect. Engage to get the full effect to draw 1, Wither Anchor to get the full effect to take control, etc, etc. So although Azalea was a cool bit of support, it wasn't really a beneficial one for Sky Strikers itself. But one bit of support I'm really excited for is Sky Striker Ace Camellia. Camellia is really, really good. This is like what a good bit of Sky Striker support looks like. The fact that it needs 2 effect monsters, although generic, it's something that Sky Strikers can easily use. What makes this card so good is that once per turn, if you have 3 or less spells in your graveyard, you can send 1 Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard. This does exactly the opposite of what Azalea did. Rather than getting rid of the spells that you really, really desperately need, Camellia boosts your graveyard with even more spells. One thing that's really, really great, well, I've been experimenting with this on Nexus, is the fact that if I'm able to normal summon Ray and then get the Rose out from my hand as well, what you can do is manipulate your hand in a way that you're able to link 2 on your first turn to get Camellia. Camellia effect, you can dump Engage, then you can just link off Camellia for Gary to add that Engage to your hand. So there's a lot of good ways you can use Camellia to your benefit, which is just a really, really good way that it's benefiting Sky Striker exactly. So you send 1 Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard. It's not a generic thrust card or anything like that. You actually add a Sky Striker spell from your deck to the grave, which in turn can end up in your hand or on the field if you're using multi-roll. That's one of the main reasons I think this card is very, very good, but also has another effect which of course can be very beneficial. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and special summon this card to their field, and if you do, send that monster to the graveyard. Also, shift control of this card's owner during the end phase of this turn, which of course is another great bit of removal. That's one thing I'm really excited for. This was one of the cards that are going to be released in OCG stories, but as far as the OCG story support for Sky Striker goes, this is probably the last bit of good support, because the rest, I have to complain, are really bad, except for the exception of one. Oddly enough, it comes in the form of a main deck monster, which is something that Sky Striker don't really have a lot of. We have Rose and we have Ray, and then the rest is mostly hand traps and stuff like that. But Pillar of the Future Cyanos is pretty good, because although it doesn't have Sky Striker in his name, his effect reads that this card is always treated as a Sky Striker card. Therefore, you can search it off of Engage and whatever. So what makes this guy so good is the fact that you're able to special summon by discarding one spell card. I.e., it's great because you're boosting up your graveyard with more spells, and you're getting another body on the field in order to link into your Camille, which is really good if you're going by the combo that I mentioned earlier to get engaged into your graveyard, Kagari added back off. But what makes this card really good is if it is normal or special summoned, you can also special summon one Sky Striker Ace Rose from your deck or your graveyard. Although this locks you into machine monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, you don't really care because your Sky Striker extra deck monsters are all machines. Reason why this is good is, one, getting a spell in your graveyard for the cost of bringing them out. It's a good way to get a link to, and also the fact that it special summons Rose from the deck means if you run stuff like Pot of Desires and etc., you're not going to be banishing your one copy of Rose off your Pot of Desires. This is just a really good bit of support. I don't necessarily see it being run a trio in future decks, but still definitely a one of, which I think could be very good.
It also has another effect where you can banish it from the grave, and you can recycle your Rose that's banished from the grave. You can either add it to your hand or special summon it. So that's pretty cool. Rose is one of those cards that, if it's banished, is pretty bad because you always want to be able to go for your linkage OTK. So it's very good, especially because Bestials are the bane of Sky Striker's existence. If you can just get Rose back using this card, that's very strong. Also, if you're in a weird position where you don't have access to your Ray, and you have a banished or in the grave Rose, you can just bring it out and then start your combo that way, because Rose go into Kagari or whatever, and just start your combo that way. So all around, it's just a very strong card. Also, it's level 1, so maybe we're going to start running 1-for-1. Who knows?
But then that's kind of where the good support ends fully, because the next one we're going to talk about is another link 2 that Sky Strikers are getting, and it is called Combination Maneuver Engage 0. This is a terrible card.
What's such a cool name, though?
It's such a cool name, but this is just a terrible card. Not only does it have the same downfall that Azalea has, where he needs 2 light and or dark monsters, but think of it this way. This is a Sky Striker deck. The main thing you do is link. Literally the first line of text that this card has, besides this is always treated as a Sky Striker Ace card, is that it cannot be used as link material. In Sky Strikers, of all the decks where you can't use a certain monster as link material, you can kind of understand it. With Phantom Knights, Rusty Bardige, he can't be used as link material, at least on the first turn that he's brought out. But that's fine. Phantom Knights have a lot of XZs and stuff that you're able to do your alternative ways of setting up and winning. So that's absolutely fine. There's certain cards like Secure Gardener where it cannot be used as link material. That's fine. It's just a piece of like generic link that you can throw in any decks. But Sky Strikers heavily rely on their links. We need to get rid of this thing. We can't clog up our main monster zone, because then that turns off all our spells. This card is so bad in that sense. The only way you can really get it off the field is if you're using a card like Linkage. And Linkage, of course, is going to be very good. That was another bit of support that we got in Mavens, which is just another great one card, which is another great starter for the deck. This was very important support that Sky Striker needed at the time.
So even though you can get rid of this card off the field using something like Linkage or even your Area 0, it really puts you in a weird situation where that's like your only out. So you might be put in situations where you have to use Linkage to get Engage 0 off the field in order to continue your combo.
Yeah, it really sucks that you have to use some of your cards early when they could be used for like the further your combo, like Linkage and whatever, just to get this like piece of crap off the field, basically. It's just not really good. The only thing people can make an argument for that makes this generic that makes this like Sky Striker support is that it specifically says that if this card attacks at the start of the damage step, if you have both Ray and Rose in the graveyard, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls, which of course is non-targeting removal, which can be quite good. However, getting Ray and Rose in the graveyard is a lot of setup. In fact, most of the time when Rose goes into your graveyard, it's because of dumping it off of Hayate, but now with these new cards it might even be Camille or whatever, but it's just not good. It really isn't that great at all. What makes it so bad is the fact that it needs to be summoned using 2 light and or dark monsters, and then you're kind of stuck with a very small body monster as well. The fact that it's still only 1500 attack for a Link 2, it's not really great. So that's one of my biggest complaints about this guy right here. I don't think any Sky Striker deck should be running it if this comes to be released in the TCG or anything like that. It's just not good enough to make Sky Strikers bring it to the next level. Honestly, Sky Strikers can be seen as a sort of a 1-for-1 deck in the sense that you use your Widow Anchor to negate, you use your Afterburns to destroy one. It kind of works as a 1-for-1. I feel like you're losing so many of your own resources going into Engage 0 that by the time you get the full payoff of that effect, you've kind of went -3 while your opponent still has like their full hand. So I don't think that Engage 0 is really something that should be considered a good Sky Striker card. In fact, I'm really mad that out of all the ways we can get like great Link 2s, the fact that 2 of them are wasted on Engage 0 and even Azalea, the fact that they can just be like generic, it's not fun. I think the only good Link 2 we've gotten was Camille and Zeke, of course, but yeah, I'm very disappointed with this card.
The thing about this is that you could just run a generic Link 2 like Nightmare Cerberus instead, because although this negates a monster with 2500 or more attack, most monsters with 2500 or more attack, a lot of them you can't negate or can't target or whatever, so just the ability to pop it off of Cerberus is usually better. And then the Raigeki effect, just run Raigeki. The deck can run Raigeki pretty well because a lot of the times you're running an OTK build and Raigeki's an extra spell engrave, so this card is very much a waste of extra deck space. Very sad.
One thing I will say that this kind of like brings us into our next card. What it looks like Konami wants to do with Sky Strikers is that they kind of want to turn it into another Link climbing deck, which I think kind of ruins the spirit of Sky Strikers. We kind of found a way to take advantage of Access Code Talker, which is really fun, but the way it seems that now that they brought out linkage, that linkage locks you into your Sky Striker monsters, I think Konami's looking for other ways for Sky Strikers to be a Link climbing deck, which just isn't really what it's all about. That's what takes us to our Link tree. This is Sky Striker, Ace, Azalea, Temperance. Temperance, I can make an argument for. It's definitely a lot better than what we previously mentioned. However, it does take 2+ monsters, including a Link monster. What this card does is it must first be Link summoned, and then if this card is special summoned, you can banish 1 spell from your hand or graveyard, target 1 monster your opponent controls with 2500 or less attack. Equip that face-up monster this card as an equip spell. Few reasons I don't like this is the fact that you're banishing a spell. Again, you want your spells in the graveyard, you want to be able to recycle them. Banishing spells is a big no-no, you don't want to do that. That's why this card is kind of bad in that sense. Also, with Sky Strikers as well, if you're playing multi-roll, your back row is probably going to be clogged up already. So the fact that you need to equip that monster to this is not really that great either. Good, it's good because equipping a monster can sometimes be better removal than straight up destruction, but still I don't think it is as good, especially if you're doing a full commitment to a Link tree. I don't think it's worth the cost that it goes through. You might be better off going for the likes of Nightmare Unicorn, which shuffles a card into the deck, which, you know, if a card is being shuffled into the deck, that's a lot better than it being destroyed or even equipped some of the times.
You know, it's crazy. You're saying that, oh, we're turning the Sky Strikers into a Link climbing deck. Wouldn't it be cool if the Link 2 could be used as Link material so you could rank up into it? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Why the hell are they trying to make it a Link climbing deck if you can't even link with your Link 2? Like, it's just so stupid. Yeah, it's just such a wrong direction for Sky Strikers. We're going to go into our final card now. This is Surgical Striker. Well, S.P.E.C.T.R.A, but it's like dotted, so it's S.P.E.C.T.R.A. But whatever, it's S.P.E.C.T.R.A basically. This is the Link 4. This will be Sky Striker's new boss monster, so they say. But again, not great. It is a Link 4, and for the material it needs 2+ monsters, including a Link monster. Which, you know, you can easily do. However, with Sky Strikers, when you're going into a Link 4, most of the time you can kind of just go into your access code talker, which will be a lot better. So, of course, this card is always treated as a Sky Striker card, which needs to specify since it's called Surgical Striker, much like Surgical Striker Hamp. So, it must first be Link summoned, but it instantly, on the first line of its effect, it has a disadvantage because this card loses 3000 attack while you have no spells in your graveyard. This card only has 3000 attack, so it's basically putting itself down to 0 if you have no spells in the graveyard. And considering all of your other Sky Striker Link climbing crap that you're using to go into this thing banishes spells from your graveyard or your hand, it's pretty likely you're going to be pretty low on spell cards by the time you go into this guy, which is a huge disadvantage. So the other effect reads that when your opponent activates a card or effect as Chain Link 2 or higher, quick effect, you can banish 2 spells from your hand or graveyard and negate that effect. Then you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. Again, banishing spells. You don't do that with Sky Strikers. It is the worst thing you can do. Honestly, you want to be recycling them with multi-roll. You want to be adding them back from the graveyard with Kagari. You never want to be banishing your spells. So I don't know why Konami is taking this direction where it's turning Sky Strikers, which was heavily into using spells, using 1-for-1s basically to like pop and then get advantage. Why they're turning this like really good deck that kind of like can combo off into this real garbage Link climbing spell banishing bullshit. It's not a good way for the deck to go. Honestly, all you're doing is making this support really, really bad, and it feels like it's on purpose because you're trying to completely change the deck. Just make a different archetype that can benefit from running a lot of spells and banishing them to get their effects. It can be like the anti-Sky Strikers, basically. Kind of like you have Sky Strikers and then you have like another thing where you actually get more benefit from banishing your spells. It's just such a wrong direction. I really hate the direction where this is going. I don't like the direction Sky Strikers is heading. I don't think it's good for the deck. I absolutely hate it. I cannot go into enough detail on why I don't like it so much. It's really, really destroying the essence of the deck, and I don't find it good at all. So that's pretty much all I have to say on my rant about the new Sky Striker support. So please, Konami, stop ruining Sky Strikers. Anything to add to that?
No.